punk. It's the Large Blast podcast here. Detective Inspector Stoney arresting you for being a fucking dweeb. Joined as always by Detective Lieutenant Welshie.
Do you feel lucky, punk?
And Corporal Sergeant Matt.
Innocence proves nothing.
And we're here to talk to you today about Warhammer 40,000, in particular Arbites and getting arrested and shit like that in the year 40,000. And we like to kick things off, as we always do, with a little something we call Hobbies Goings On, where we find out what's been goings on in the host's hobbies here. So Matt, are you ready to tell us what you've been goings on in your hobbies?
What's been going on? I've been pretty distracted recently, but ironically, considering the last episode's random topic, I've actually been selling some Warhammer on eBay. So that's I've been preoccupied doing a bit of that.
Insert Matthew saying I will never sell anything here from last episode.
But it's stuff that, you always end up with a pile of stuff that you think, I really don't need this. Like, it's just going to sit in a box under a shelf and I'm never going to use it. So
Matt is going to kick you for that.
I know.
As soon as those models start selling for 300 quid each on eBay, you're going to be like...
So that's going well. Just lots of stuff from my bits box, just random stuff, and like those Necrons that I randomly had from the Forgebane box. And I bought myself a Dremel, which I've been using for some conversion work that I'm doing, and that's saving so much time using a Dremel.
I've got to admit, seeing your YouTube video, Stoney, if you haven't watched it, jump on the YouTube channel. When you use that Dremel, it gave me a semi, I'll be honest, and I thought, I need one of them.
Listen,
I didn't know what those metal ball things were for, and now I know. So I've been using that. I think I have one of those metal balls with it. You get like 40 different ends on it.
Phrases.
Yeah, no idea what they do, apart from the cutters and the polishers or whatever.
Yeah, well, that's
you need to play around with it.
A ball phrase should be like, always hold your Dremel like you would hold a pen, always. Mm-hmm. Even if you don't hold a pen right, hold a Dremel like you're supposed to hold a pen, and then use your thumb as support, and use those ball phrases like the tip of a pen, like different size nibs of a pen. You used it to like
scrape away at the model a bit, didn't you?
That's what they do. That's like being a dentist. They do. That's what they do.
Oh man, I can be a dentist.
It's the same.
I've got one of those little mirrors and a scalpel, so now I've got all the tools to be a dentist and a drill.
That's it.
Sorted.
Man,
that's
it. But it's all about getting precise enough with that Dremel that you can do dentistry on 40k models, my brother. That's where we're coming at.
Oh man, so that's about it. And I've got a game on Sunday with Alex.
So who you playing? Who's Alex bringing? Who you pitching up against?
That's a very good point. I mean, I'm assuming it's Death Guard. He hasn't told me. I'm bringing the same list, whatever, so I'm not even going to ask him. I guess maybe he'll have Mortarion. I don't know. Did he play
I hope
Mortarion?
He brings his Dark Eldar, because I want to actually see the Admech Dark Eldar matchup, the two ridiculously stratospheric armies at the moment.
So, Welshie, what about you? Have you been up to anything hobby goings-ons?
Regular listeners will know I've been frantically trying to fuse a giant rat monster to a metal spider monster for Chaos. And I finished that, which is nice. I finished one of the two. So I've got another model that's the other two halves to come. Had really good fun doing that. Quite pleased with how it's come out.
Cool. So that's the Lord Discordant with the Abomination.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So the Lord Discordant model, I've never bought the kit, but it's always one I've been tempted by. It's a good kit. You get a lot of bits in there. Like how many, is it 3 or 4 sprues in the box? Can you remember?
It's smaller than you think, actually. There's no alternate build. So it is, you use every piece if you build it out the box, which is quite rare, actually, these days. There's not much stuff that's like that. But that's why I then paired it with a much, much cheaper kit, which is the Age of Sigmar stuff all seems to be cheaper. So I've got, 2 Lord Discordants for less than 2 Lord Discordants. So that's the plan there. And it goes with the rest, like the whole theme of my Emperor's Children is to have these like animalistic conversions. So I've got like the snake terminators, and then I've got I bought the vampire lord with the big wings that's like crouched over the bit of scenery.
The new guy.
The new guy, Morgan
Yeah.
Val or whatever. So I'm going to give that thing like a massive chainsword instead, and 40k that up as a demon prince.
That's a sick.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of want to do. I've kind of set myself a challenge now with that Emperor's Children army to basically, I don't want to have any unit that's just straight from the box. Everything's either got to be mashed up with Old Hammer or Age of Sigmar. So
yeah. That shit's looking really good, especially that paint job you're doing on them, looking very tight indeed.
Thank you. And then I've switched to some Raven Guard as well, just the past few days. Back to some Loyalists for a bit, just to get a change of scenery.
Back to black,
that is
Amy Winehouse would say. Yeah. Fantastic.
How about you, Steady? What you been up to?
Oh, man, not a whole lot. Just still straight up. Just real life shit, kicking my ass, doing a lot of ZBrush things. I posted a video of the one of my conversions that I made from the box of Old Hammer that I had.
Yeah, really cool.
I did a bit of work on a lead model. Lead is actually crazy easy to work with. I've worked on a lot of metals over my time. I've been a jeweler in the past. I've done some steel work, all the rest of it. But lead, I don't know. I can, it makes you dumb, doesn't it? That's the problem. Is you get the lead poisoning if you hang around lead too long. But apart from that, if it didn't make you stupid, this shit's a one. I can see why the Romans thought it was a wonder metal and started sticking it in wine and all going lead mad. But I've gone lead mad in terms of how easy it is to work with. I'm looking forward to doing some more conversions out of this lead. Basically, I've got the lead fever. It's like being a cannibal when you get a taste for human flesh and you get the madness or whatever. But other than that, not a whole lot of actual Warhammer stuff in terms of anything interesting to report. Really, I'm afraid.
Oh, that's a bit of a shame. But if you haven't seen that video, listeners, head over to the YouTube channel and check it out because it's a really cool conversion. Really nice. And that head that was on the original model, that mask is really cool. I thought you'd added that from like a recent model, but for an old model, that's a really cool look.
Yeah, so basically it's got the model that I converted has got a kind of it's a bit like it's wearing one of those kind of all over body suits that you see now, like Green Man or something like, and so he's, and it reminds me a lot of like, they've just released that new Age of Sigmar model, haven't they?
The lady
that has, the lady that has the exact same head basically. And I thought, oh, cool. That's a bit of a, they're copying, they're standing their own shit there, stands to themselves, Games Workshop. But it was good. I enjoyed it. But yeah, it's a cool model. It is funny. It's so weird looking at old models now because they are so stiff. Like just looking at this now, and it was supposed to be a disc rider of Teach, and he stood bolt upright like a fucking refrigerator, stood on like on a skateboard, like it's like that shit ain't gonna happen. So whereas now when you look at things like some stuff, we almost complain some stuff is too like over dynamic in some ways. They put too much dynamicism in things, and like it's funny to see how the models have changed from like not dynamic enough to now like people overworking things maybe.
I enjoyed your comment on the book.
Of course you did, Matt. I put it in for you. That's really looked at Warhammer. Everybody knows it. But this was back in the old days. That might have been the OG book.
The only book.
The first book in Warhammer.
It's the news. Wow. It's the chuffing news.
Have you heard? 6s are now 4s.
It's the news.
Chief Stealer Limo's back.
News.
Law. Rules. Together. What? We all know what it's about. Warhammer 40k, it's about bringing that law. It's about bringing those rules together. And with Charadon Book 2, there's some exciting people entering the stage of battle. So, who have we got over here? We've got Typhus, we've got Balak, we've got other people fighting it out. Welshie, fill us in. Tell us what's happening.
I just thought it was exciting, right? We've argued over whether these books should be released and cost loads of money for like a tiny amount of rules and a bit of lore. But aside from that, if you think about the setting, Typhus, Heptus Cleng, big Admech guy in charge of the entire Forge world, Morven Val, literal High Lord of Terror, and Be'lakor fighting it out on a planet. We've got some like top players going on here. And I think it could be quite exciting.
This is setting up for many a tale indeed.
But not just big tail. This is all set on Metallica. This is like real like squeaky bum time for the Imperium. Are they going to lose one of their key?
He's hiding
forge
behind the
worlds?
drums.
Yeah.
James is hitting things with guitars. Kirk's turned to Slanesh already.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to buy it.
I mean, I'm not going to buy the book, but the lore development is quite exciting. I think it's like,
yeah. I mean,
to think about.
I think I've been more excited by the fact that they've kind of led from one book to this book every month in White Dwarf for like 6 months, and they've released all the rules for stuff, and that's been quite good. I think that should be available online now, probably on Warhammer Plus, like in 6 months' time, so everyone can play the rules that they had in White Dwarf. But yeah, I mean, the lore building up to it has been quite good to read, and there's been lots of little stories, like mini Black Library stories in the White Dwarf, and that's been good.
I like this Heptus Cleng fella that's there. He seems to just be like, if he's Admech, he's just kind of wired into a chair. He's just a massive face on the wall, essentially. Seems to be
apparently he's the size of a super heavy tank.
Oh, excellent.
It's like, you know, when you see that Intel inside, the Intel Pentel processor, if you peel that sticker off, that's what's behind it, is just a dude in a square.
I did wonder whether, because there's a preview tomorrow, isn't there?
Yeah, we've talked about that in a bit, but there is.
But I wondered whether, you know, how we've spoken about how all these army releases have there's like a core element to each model in an army, and every army has got like the same element in it. And I wondered whether he could be, although the Codex has just come out, but he could be the super heavy element of the
or the terrain piece.
Army list.
You don't have
or
the terrain piece yet.
or the terrain piece. But we've just had the Codex out, so it'd be really lame if it came out in this book. But a model of this guy would be amazing. So this is he's the leader of Metallica, the Forge World Metallica, so which is one of the key Forge Worlds. He's higher up than Belisarius Cawl in terms of rank.
I didn't realise we were talking about all the diseases and stuff in the last episode, that the whole reason Typhus is there is a little bit because Abaddon's told him to. But he also wants to prove to Mortarion that he can make diseases that affect the Admech.
Oh, cool.
He's there to prove that he can cause disease to things that are mostly machine. So that's quite cool. And more than Val and Be'lakor, obviously, showing that's got to be a big showdown there.
So the book's going to have the rules for Be'lakor. Yeah.
Well, as if by magic, we've got some Be'lakor rules previews, Matthew, and he is
look at those rings,
beast, an absolute
as he should
beast.
Be.
Insane. I think if everything goes right, he can do 36 damage. 36 damage with his sword.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a spicy meatball.
Oh, it is. He seems like he's going to be great. And I think when we looked at this model, Stoney, I think you said that you'd always hated that, like, he never had a model. He was never represented really. Like, his rules were always kind of similar to a Demon Prince, and he looked a bit similar.
Had a model. He always looked smaller and shitter than a Demon Prince, but he was way better than a Demon Prince. Yeah.
So hopefully this balances that out a bit. And he seems like he's going to be a nightmare to take off the table as well. He's got a 4-up invul save and a mechanic I haven't seen that often, which is -1 on the wound roll. So when you're trying to wound him, you're -1 on the wound roll.
That's great. Yeah.
And -1 to hit. So he's -1 to hit, -1 to wound, and he has a 4-up invul.
Is that just in close combat?
No, that's everything.
Yeah, wow.
And he's got
how many wounds does he have?
I don't know actually. They don't think they've said that yet. I was trying to find that out. I assume he'll be targetable. He'll have more than
like 20 wounds.
But probably something less than like an Imperial Knight or something.
He's going to be like Demon Primarch size, isn't he? Like Mortarion size.
Yeah, I think from the pictures he might be a little bit smaller than a Mortarion, but he's definitely way bigger than a Demon Prince.
So I remember the main thing about Be'lakor when in the old editions was the buffs that he gave to other people. That was the main attraction of bringing him to your army. Obviously, he was a good model. but his buffs were insane. So is he bringing any of those with him into this?
Yeah, so he's got some cool stratagems. Again, a kind of mechanic I haven't seen very much, where he can just play a strat on a unit nearby, and they just ignore the damage. So if you've rolled like a neutron laser and done 6 damage, he just play a strat and he's done no damage. So that's quite cool. And today they previewed some more rules for how he'll work. So in the Sheridan book that we've just talked about, he comes with some rules to have like his own warband, so his own like mini chaos faction. And it's really cool. It's like proper Chaos Undivided, where you can have a mixture of anything with the 4 gods, but you're only allowed one of each until you have one of each, and then you can have another one of each. So if you have it like you can have everything together. It's like your perfect army.
Boys,
you can have demons and Chaos Space Marines together. Stony, this guy's for you.
Boys, do you know what might have just happened? They might have backdoor given us a Chaos Undivided Primarch here.
Yeah.
You know, we've been talking about what the next Primarch was going to be. It was Balakor all the fucking time.
He's got mechanics
Chaos
like
Undivided Primarch. This opens up so many doors for Chaos Undivided shit. You got your fucking, your Iron Warriors, your Alpha Legion, all that shit. You could, good shit.
It seems really good, and he's got all the auras you'd expect. People are re-rolling, so he's like most of the big guys now. You can pick one unit that re-rolls everything, and then he's got a 6-inch zone where you re-roll ones. He's going to be exciting on the board, as he should be for such a beautiful model. So exciting times for Chaos.
And he's got wings as well, so he's going to be pretty mobile, shifting those always around the board. That's exactly. Pretty good. Nice. Okay, yeah. Well, snatch that up if you're out there thinking if you're undecided about Chaos, get undivided about Chaos with Balakor. Do you like rules? Do you like doing things by the book? Well, be prepared to set your table up inch by inch and spend hours of time inching things millimeter by millimeter into place, because Games Workshop have brought out an official terrain set up for if you're doing a tournament or whatever. This is how they're going to play. This is how they suggest you play. And this is basically the setup you're going to see if you're entering a big time tournament or a big game or anything like that. So, take it away.
It's interesting. So, Matt, you and I played our first post-lockdown competitive tournament a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? And there was quite a lot of terrain. And because me and you don't play competitively very often, I was taken aback by A, quite how much terrain there was, and B, quite how line blocking it was. It was very difficult to see the majority of the board. It was much more about movement than I thought or anticipated, which was interesting. And there was definitely talk amongst players as to whether it was the correct level or not. So GW kind of stepping in and saying, this is what we recommend, potentially that.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw this earlier in the week, I did think maybe, it was the Dice Saloon's first event. They went
great.
Quite gung. Oh yeah, it was great. Yeah, maybe they went gung ho with the terrain that they were rushing to build, and maybe they put too much on the table. Because seeing these, there was definitely too much on the table. My second game, really, I almost didn't get any shots off at his robot. I mean, he played really well. Credit to the player I was playing against, but there was almost no lanes of fire because the terrain was covered all over the board. But this has gone down lukewarm, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think people just don't like being told what to do, essentially. But I think it's nice. The most important thing about terrain at events, right, is that all the tables are laid out the same. So the table you're playing on, or at least similar, because the table you're playing on could have a massive difference to the amount of points you score and therefore your position. If you're playing competitively, if you're there to have fun, who cares? But
I think I misunderstood. I agree that every table should almost be the same.
Yeah.
But I don't believe so. This Games Workshop setup is making both sides of the table the same. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter what way you play. You're almost a mirror image of each other. But that kind of takes away the importance of winning the roll off and choosing what side you can pick, because it doesn't matter.
That's true.
there's no benefit of being able to pick your
But
deployment
that's
area.
kind of what a tournament play should be. You
Yeah.
should be starting on equal benefit, like, you know, even if
I
it
do
is a
think
roll
so.
off. Or, like, for me, you know, this is the furthest removed from Warhammer that I could ever be, like tournament play. It's 100% not what I do. I arranged a tournament that we did back in the 2000s and whatever's, you know, years ago. And one of the things that really felt important at the time was just like trying to make rules consistent and trying to make things fair for people. And so, like, honestly, I don't have a problem with Games Workshop stepping in and being like, this is it, like, shut up, neckbeards, stop trying to say, oh, this should be this or this should be that. These are the rules from Games Workshop. This is how you're going to play. If you want to play this way, this is how your tournament's going to go down. Do you know what I mean? And like, it's completely up to the tournament arranger at the end of the day. But if you've got a guy that can't think of his own arrangements, got no imagination, whatever, and they need a guideline, boom, here you go, bam, everybody's happy. It's literally written down on the Games Workshop rules. No one can argue with that.
Yeah, I agree. You know, and I expect I'd probably want to play games like this if I'd spent a week making a list, and if I'd spent 5 minutes putting a list together, I'll chuck every bit of terrain I can find on and put some stupid crane blocking the entire board and just have a laugh. You know, that's the different ways to play.
The thing I like about it is that they're not so much about the building or the terrain. There's the base that they sit on. So you can just get I think I'm just gonna buy some squares of foam board so that I can have I have each shape that they have in the plan view, and you just chuck that on a board. You almost don't need terrain because you just know what those blocks mean.
All this shit kind of depends on what kind of game you're going to play anyway.
If
you're then just going to scatter a bunch of objective markers and they all fall in your half, then who cares what the terrain looks like? Do you know what I mean? It really depends on what you're going to be playing. So if this is right for tournament play, this is what Games Workshop says, then, you know, fuck it. I'm down for it. Who cares? Got a big preview coming out for the Octarius mission briefing online, coming out from Games Workshop. They've released a bunch of shit. What do we think it is? Welshie, what do you think it is?
I spent the whole week, right, because they keep talking about bloody Tyranids, like getting really excited that this was going to be a whole sector, because they said, you know, we've moved on from Sheridan, we're going to a new sector, and I thought it was going to be a whole thing. And one of our friends, listener Jimmy Bignuts, contacted me and said that orange writing, Octarius mission briefing, that clearly means kill team, because kill team's all written in that. And I said no, it's going to be a big planet-wide, sector-wide thing, and the Tyranids are going to be there. It's going to be Tyranids v Orcs 100%. And then this afternoon, on the Friday we're recording this before the event, they release the coolest fucking video I've ever seen of some orcs fighting some Deathcore of Krieg. Okay. And it's clearly a big kill team release tomorrow. And I got kind of sad and then happy at the same time, and it was very confusing.
Massive kill team release. Yeah, it sounds like potentially by the time you're listening to this, plastic Deathcore of Krieg could already exist and being sold by Games Workshop, no less. Do we think that's a possibility?
Well,
yes,
I think
it seems like
so,
it now.
I think it would just be like a squad. I don't think, but I was seeing on the Imperial Guard Facebook group all week, people were talking about plastic Imperial Guard and how Games Workshop were going to charge 120 quid just so they could buy a squad of plastic Deathcore. And I kept wondering what they were talking about. And then when I saw the poster today for the preview, it all made sense. And then they dropped the video, and it's amazing.
You want to know something that I would say is like the original Deathcore of Krieg army that was released on through Forge World. I heard that was the most expensive army pound for pound to collect due to the price of the models and the like limited point costs that they appeared on the battlefield. So they already know that there's a market out there of people that as soon as these plastic models come out and they release a £20 box set of one guard, will build an entire 2,000 point army out of just that box set. They've already tested the water.
This is like they're bringing out fentanyl, right? It's slightly cheaper. It's slightly cheaper than heroin. But it's still not cheap, and it's still going to fuck up your life.
Exactly.
Has there been a new edition of Kill Team?
No, this is it. The next one. Yeah. And I've only recently started playing Kill Team. So it's a rules update.
They've got you just in time. Yeah. So it could be a big box. Fuck, it could be more than a squad. Starter box. It could be like a platoon. Oh my god.
Well, maybe. I mean, it's still going to be 2 kill teams in a box with a manual.
Man, at the beginning of this week, when I started selling stuff, I said to myself, right, that is it. I'm going to stop buying new stuff. And now they're going to drop a Kill Team box set with Deathcore.
They've been killing it with the box sets recently. They have. Curse City, the last Age of Sigmar drop, and now this is going to be good. This is going to be
perfect. It's perfect. Like, they need to. Obviously, Cadia doesn't exist anymore, so at some point they have to shift the standard, the main Imperial Guard world, to somewhere else. And it would be. I bet Forge World wouldn't be happy, but if Krieg became the main Imperial Guard world, that'd be amazing. That would be amazing.
Man, they could live off those Krieg whales for the rest of eternity. It doesn't matter what the rest of the Imperial Guard think. It's time. It's time to get those Kriegers in. But
I'm going to interrupt. Right, I'm still excited that there could be some secret Tyranid releases tomorrow, because they built the whole day up to be more than just Kill Team. They built it up as here's the next big faction, here's the next big sector, here's loads of stuff that's going on. They trailed in the secret cinema picture thing, the fucking new Lictor, about 3 months ago. It's about time they revealed that new Tyranid model. And about time we got some new rules.
Nah, it's gonna be the Imperial Guard Codex, isn't it? Because the Orcs are in the box set, so the Imperial Guard, the next Codex after the Grey Knights and the Thousand Suns and the Orcs will be Imperial. Are those even out yet? No. They're really stacking them all up, aren't they?
Yeah.
They've got to slow down. Fuck.
I just wanted to say before we move on to the next bit, I heard you describe the animation, the advert or whatever for Kill Team as like real cool. I watched that and thought that animation was shite. I'll be honest with you. I thought that it was really badly done. Like, it might just be because I've just been doing fucking ZBrush for the last 80 hours or whatever. But like it. Just, it didn't. But like for me, I felt like it made me a bit worried about this this Warhammer Plus shit that's going on with these animations that's coming out, because I thought like that shit was so overexpressed. It looked like a kid's animation. The way they were like they animated the people. It didn't look like some of the old stuff that you've been sending me, Will of Iron or whatever it was called, some of those guys, those independent ones, and now I'm a bit like, oh shit, this Warhammer Plus animation is going to have a certain style to it, which I think two things. Like, I
didn't mean it in the sense of it was the best graphics of animation I'd seen. It's clearly had less time taken on it than some things. I just meant the feel of what was going on, to see the Deathcore. I also thought, although the Orcs looked kind of cartoony and a little bit childlike with the bomb squig and stuff, I thought the fact that he power clawed someone in half and got covered in blood, and then they set someone on fire and their face melted. I thought, although it was quite cartoony, it was still quite dark, and that filled me with a little bit of hope.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, we've always said, whether it's an animation or a video game or whatever, you've got to get the world right, and they got the world right. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate that. But like, I just thought, as like, for a Games Workshop advert, an animated one that they're putting out ahead of a TV, a paid for service that includes animation, that was not enough to get me to want to see more of their animation and pay £5 a month for it, So I guess maybe I'm judging it more harshly than 10 years ago or whatever. But if these are the same people that are going to say, hey, we're going to charge you £5 a month for animation, and I expect a little bit better animation than what I saw on that link.
Fair enough.
This is what I call the zip zap rap.
All cops are bastards right now. But what about in the year 40,000? What are they like then? Well, they're cunts. That's right. That's right. ACAC. All cops in the future are cunts. But how cunty are they? Let's find out with a little bit of lore from Welshie to give us a bit of backstory on these future Arbites.
Right. So I'm going to come clean with you all that, and if you're listening, we weren't quite sure what to do this week. And I kind of led on this because I watched Heat with Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. And I thought, how can we possibly lever cops into the 40K world? And I've always loved the Arbites models. So we threw this together. So a little bit of background on the Arbites. They're really cool because they're like the police of 40K, but they're like the indifferent police that don't really care about the laws on the different planets. Every planet has its own kind of laws and legal system that it follows, that it's developed over the millennia. And they just couldn't really give a shit about that. They're like police that have just had enough. And if there's some low stick trading or some obscura going on, they're not that bothered. They're only really bothered in crime that impacts planets paying the imperial tithes. So if the planet's not paying its taxes, they send in the Arbites. They're like police above the police. So they're not just like
debt collectors, than
that's
like moral upholders.
Yeah.
They uphold what's called the Lex Imperialis, which is like the kind of commandments of 40K, like, don't badmouth the emperor. But the main one is pay your tithes and report to the administratum regularly, etc., etc. And they often in the law, when they're called in, the actual local police, the planetary police, who are normally called enforcers, so the Necromunda gang, the Palatine enforcers, they're not Arbites, they're like the local police. So if they fuck up in Necromunda or they start joining a gang and taking away some of the taxes, then the Arbites will get called in. And they are the law, to quote something we'll come back to. They are judge, jury, and executioner. So they have full power from Terra to find, charge, analyze, and just kill on the spot if necessary someone that they think has broken a law.
I thought there's like small squads of them based on like every world.
Yeah,
they're
so every
tiny
world,
in number.
Yeah, it has like a kind of fortress that they sit in, and they don't really worry until anything goes wrong. And then when things go wrong, they ship in some more. They're basically just going out busting heads and making sure everyone's listening and paying money.
You know what? I think of these guys operationally as a bit kind of like, they're more like an imperial version of a gene stealer cult, where they just hang around on a planet, and if there's an uprising, maybe they recruits and they fucking custom skulls or whatever.
That kind of thing. They just drop in and take over, and now suddenly everyone has to listen to what they say. I wondered where they were recruited from, because they always seem, when they're written about, they've always got like a real cynicism about what's going on. Like they've just had this horrible, horrible life, and they hate everything, and they're fed up of criminals, etc. And they all get recruited from the Schola Progenum, which is like
the commissariat.
School. Yeah, which is also feeds into the commissariat. Which are all orphans from children from like parents of military backgrounds. So parents that are in the guard or quite
like
high
James
up.
Bond.
Exactly. Yeah. Like the kind of, my parents were killed when I was young, but they taught me how to shoot a shotgun and pluck a pheasant. Like they all get sent to this like school for badasses. And then they go through like a series of trials, like in, I don't know, the Maze Runner or something like that. And then the best ones get pulled out and turned into Arbites or commissars or something. So that's where they recruit from. So they're already recruiting like psychopaths essentially. Like, but for anyone that's seen the Arbites models, the thing that jumps out at me as a comic fan is they are basically Judge Dredd in the way they look, the way they act, the fact they've got a fortress world, the fact that they are judge, jury, and executioner, the fact that they often say, "I am the law." So I did some research back to the early days, the real formation of Rogue Trader. And I thought it was really interesting that when Rick Priestley started Rogue Trader in 1987, great hair, if you haven't seen it, look him up. They had a bit of a problem because they just released a game called Rogue Trooper, which was a board game that released like
2000 AD.
From 2000 AD. So about 3 weeks before...
Sorry, just in case there are any 2000 AD kind of fans out there, he's the blue guy who's got like where the gun and his helmet and backpack all talk to him.
Yeah, he's got like the consciousnesses of some other guys, isn't he? Like plugged into his gun. Yeah. I think it's the one in his bag is called
like the Eldar.
And he's got one in his helmet called Helm. It is like the Eldar, like Spirit Stones.
He's like, sorry not to go on like a tangent here, but yeah, his the very beginning of it, he starts out with a bunch of guys, and one of them's called like Gunman, one of them's called like Bagman, whatever, and they all die, and he loads them all up into his bag and his gun and his helmet respectively, due to the names that they have.
Oh my god! So I didn't know that, Stoney. That's why we need you here. They were called those names before they got downloaded into the chips. Oh man,
that's right. Yeah, he's called like John Bagman and Jimmy Gunn and stuff like this.
Well, that's great.
Don't come at me, 2000 AD guys. I know
he's
that's
like,
not right.
He in himself as a character, the Rogue Trooper, is a genetically enhanced super soldier, isn't he? He's like, he has that kind of power behind him. And also, to go off on another tangent, Dave Gibbons was the artist on this, off of Watchmen, right? And there's some real Blue Man vibes about the links between this as well, which is quite interesting. But, I mean,
we're talking again about like, you know, Judge Dredd 2000 AD, the inbreeding between 2000 AD and 40k artists is just cannot be denied if we're talking about the Judge Dredd influence. I mean, Dan fucking Abnett is just like all over Judge Dredd. Exactly.
But it's when you read into it, it's even more explicit, right? So they released this board game of the 2000 AD character Rogue Trooper, and about 3-4 weeks later, they released Rick Priestley's game Rogue Trader. And they realized that that's really fucking confusing for everybody.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, so they have to put Rogue Trader and a subtitle. And initially, apparently, he went and talked to Brian Ansell, who was the guy that owned Games Workshop at the time, and said, well, what about Warhammer 4000? And that's the point where Brian Ansell goes, that's not far enough in the future. I want it the far future. And they literally chuck a 0 on. And it becomes Rogue Trader : Warhammer 40,000. And it's all because of this. And at the same time, Games Workshop, when they were making this game, were literally making lead models of Judge Dredd to be used in this game and to be used in other games. There was a whole range. And they even made some of the like monkey gangsters that are in Judge Dredd with the Tommy guns. And that's where the Jacaro comes from and some of the early stuff.
Oh, wicked.
So when you read these guys' accounts of the early development of the company, the Arbites are more than just the policemen. They're involved in the literal beginnings of the thing that we all know and love. And if you didn't know that story, hopefully you enjoyed a little bit of history there. But it really does link to this British sci-fi and brings everything together.
Yeah,
really cool and interesting.
And
it's explicit. So Matt, I think you're going to say something about some of the weapons that the Arbites have.
Yeah, I just wanted to just have a quick look and see what an Imperial SWAT team takes to impose the law, because they're often fighting in dense urban environments. We've mentioned the Palatine Enforcers, which aren't Arbites, but the classic Necromunda range had Arbites models. So they're in urban environments. So they're mostly armed with shotguns and bolters, because those weapons suit the environment they're in. But they have various different types of ammunition. And one of the coolest ones is a executioner round, which has got like homing capabilities, so it can kind of move around walls. It homes in on a target and tracks the target, which is quite cool. They have
from Judge Dredd.
This is all Judge Dredd.
They have long range weapons as well. But for me, the original models in Necromunda are very iconic. And the thing I always remember is like the mauls that they have. So the shock mauls, which basically the idea is that they stun people. And again, there's various types of them, but one of the ones I liked when I read about them was the Cyclopea pattern power maul, which is a huge two-handed power maul. and it's only got one setting, and the setting is called maximal. So it's the only setting you can use it on, and it's potent enough to crush ground cars. So Imperial cars, your Fiats in 40,000 years' time are getting completely squashed by this power maul and sending people flying like a few meters down the road. So it's used like as shock and awe in like riots. They can come in with these absolutely massive power mauls and make everyone like fly away, which is quite cool. And other than that, they have shields, so riot shields. They're called suppression shields. They're quite cool, and they have shields that can lock together, so they can make like a Roman army tortoise, where they used to lock all the shields together to create like an unbreakable wall, but they can like barge their way through a riot. And they grapple hooks. The Cyber Mastiff, the mechanical dog, which there was a model for like 10 years ago. Forge World made there was a special event model where they had a robotic dog, and I think there's another model. Is there one in?
There's one of the new ones
range?
in the current, hired guns range.
So they're quite cool, and they have various types of armor. And Arbites, they can get promoted to be judges and different ranks. So they have different ranks in, and the armor kind of, the armor gets more souped up the higher your rank is.
You get a golden eagle on your head if you become a judge,
cool.
right? Yeah, I think that's your uniform upgrade. You
That's
get a big golden eagle on your helmet.
What do the judges do? Like they go around judging everyone anyway.
Yeah,
So
they've already been
do?
judged. I think it's if they want to arrest somebody who's a little bit higher up, that maybe if they just kill them, they're going to lose quite a lot of tax, so they have to at least attempt to give them a bit of a trial. But the bits I was reading was saying sometimes the Arbites, they just get so into it, they have to go and do like 10 years research in Terra, because some of them are really religious, and they think that the word of the law is the voice of the emperor. Right. So they can't get it wrong. So they don't prosecute anyone for decades until they've worked out exactly what they've done wrong. Yeah.
They're kind of like real small-time inquisitors, in a way. Like, they're kind of inquisitors that all work together rather than inquisitors. Inquisitors are the detectives, and these guys are the police force, or as it will. Just whilst we're talking about weapons, there is one weapon that I wanted to throw in here, which is, I remember back from my days of very first edition Necromunda, there was and I looked into this on our last episode, when we were doing worst ways to die, because I remember it being like a nasty weapon, but it wasn't nasty enough to make it up to current standards, and that is the web gun, which is a non-lethal kind of, used to be flavor template weapon that you could use to capture people.
That's cool.
But if you were a corrupted gang, you could put like razor blades all over the net, and it became like a predator thing where it turned you into a bunch of cubes, just restricted.
Who's the guy on Mortal Kombat? Cyrax, the guy that shoots that green net.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you remember what it did? Like, did it allow you to capture an enemy model from an enemy unit? Or like,
I cannot remember if it allowed you to, but it definitely allowed you to take him out. I remember it was an awesome weapon. Cool. It was like having it was at really close range. It only had like 2.5-inch range or something if you got it as a pistol or whatever. But I remember it being really good. But yeah, who could say?
I was just going to say what you were saying about them being like mini inquisitors. I think they often recruited to like inquisitorial groups. I know one of Eisenhorn's group, Goodwin Fishig, is an ex-Arbites or enforcer. I think he's an Arbites, and
they're the dentists to the Inquisitors' doctors. They're the ones that couldn't get through medical school, had to become dentists, get out there on the world. You get given a club, judge, jury, and executioner. Not too bad a life when it comes to 40k.
I wonder why they haven't brought them out in Necromunda. Maybe they will, but maybe they'd be too similar to the Palatines.
No, so they've got those bumblebee things. Like I say, they're the Palatine enforcers. So technically, they're just the local police for Necromunda.
Well,
which is a unit I'm selling on eBay.
Maybe they're going to slip into 40k in some way.
Well, I read that you could, in the Witch Hunters Codex, so 4th edition, 40k, they had a stormtrooper unit that you could use with your Sisters of Battle, but you could up. There was a writer's comment on the side of the data slate entry where you could essentially arm them all with shotguns, and then you could change their name on their data sheet to Arbites. So in 4th edition, you could use them in your Sisters of Battle army, which was quite cool, although they weren't very good. But they'd be wicked if you could use them. An army based on this with like a judge as their commander would be wicked, like an Imperial judge.
I actually have 2 of the original metal models that I put in my Inquisitor warband. So if ever I run Potiers, I have the guy, one with a shotgun and one with a grenade launcher that's in there.
They're great models.
That's the only way I can think that you can run them at the moment, as a part of an Inquisitor warband.
So if you get caught by the long arm of the law, obviously you've got to serve time in the big clinky, the smoker, the old Alcatraz, Bromley prison or whatever it is. You got to get down there. You got to do your time, serve your porridge. And in 40k, it's no different. But the only difference is you get a whole fucking world to live on. I mean, shit's got to suck, right?
Yeah. The penal
colonies. No pun intended, I'm sure.
Penal colonies.
Oh, boy.
What happens on these penal colonies? Because I don't know anything about them, really, other than a famous unit that comes from one.
Well, your standard penal world, that's for people that they get sentenced to something that's not death. They get to the Inquisitor, Big Trousers, whatever, and he's like, it's okay, not death for you. So they get sent to a penal colony where they all have to hang out. Some of them, it sort of depends on which one you get sent to. You know, some of them are a bit Escape from New York style, where it's all just a bunch of prisoners just hanging out and just doing prisoner shit. And then some of them, it's more like your straightforward prison where you've got some fucking bastard overseeing you, take your fucking freedoms for phone cards or whatever it is.
Look up your bum.
Look up your bum whilst you're mining, trying to extract resources from the goddamn earth.
Stop looking up my bum.
Exactly, he's there. And whilst you're working your balls off, chopped off, everyone, penal colony. That's right. Some of these places, if that's what you want to do, you're a warden, chop the dicks off. Penal colony, no penis here, please. You can do that if you like. Obviously, if they're found guilty, there's no reason to treat them like anything other than like scum and workers, essentially. Some of them get turned into servitors. Yeah, you get on the wrong penal colony. Oh, what's that? You're doing pretty well in the mine, looking pretty buff there, Gary. Boom, servitor that motherfucker up, send him out to the battlefield.
It's basically death.
Exactly, endless death, living death.
It's not good.
Well, there is. I mean, if you're talking about penal colonies, which you should always go to your doctor for if you are experiencing penal colonies. If not, I've got one for you right now, which is an old school penal colony, if not the original penal colony, which is called, I always fuck up these. This kind of looks like an African word. Karabam Mawa.
Normally I can help you, but it's not written on the screen.
It's all right. I've pre-recorded a text-to-speech version of something saying that.
Kangamarwood.
But this place is also known as a vault, and this is an underground imperial prison complex on Terra that was built 1,000 years before the Horus Heresy even began, before even the Emperor showed up. So by people that was never even known. And this fucking prison, right? This place is the worst prison that you've ever could know in terms of 40k. This is the Alcatraz of 40k. That's where they keep all these bastards. They've got Ifalam the Red. They've got Prince of Arab. They've got a bunch of cunts in there. All the bastards. And and they've got special. Every prisoner's got a cell specially designed for them by the Emperor themselves to keep them imprisoned. They even had a cell built especially for Horus if he was ever to be imprisoned.
Oh, cool!
Nice.
That's right.
I wonder if it's empty now. Is it still waiting for him? or
Well,
waiting for Abaddon.
That's it. I mean, during the heresy, the prison turned into a place for the outcast dead, which is for all the traitor legions that were discovered on Terra. Anyone that was involved in any kind of treacherous shit on Terra got thrown in this motherfucker. And they knew it. They had prisons, they had cells that were suspended over a big old pit, so you'd fall down in that motherfucker if you tried to escape. They had everything. You electric chair, piss it, bro. You were getting electric chaired every fucking day in this bitch.
Man, that sounds. I didn't know that. That's quite cool. I didn't know there was a prison on Earth. That's. I mean, I guess there would be, but with the Horus cell, that's really cool. I wonder what is in there.
Who knows?
It's an Xbox. Keep him busy. Warhammer Total War 3.
All the taxpayers are complaining, like, what? Horus has got an Xbox? That's it. I'm up in arms.
They're meant to be in prison.
The 70s.
The 80s. The 90s.
Oh, we're going back in time.
Is that a space squad?
It's time we take you back with a blast from the past.
Okay, so blast from the past. We're going to talk about the last chances, Schiffer's last chances, made famous by our man Gav. This model range, if you are familiar with the model range, is a classic Imperial Guard squad. It's up there with the original Gaunt's Ghost models. It's wicked. This is the 13th Penal Legion, which basically get thrown into the jaws of death like any other Penal Legion. If there's a particular mission that is do and die, they get thrown in impossible situations, etc. And the last chances are the people that survive this. So you're in a Penal Legion, everyone else dies and you survive, and Colonel Schaefer rounds you all up because you're all nutcases, and he takes you to the real mission. So essentially he throws them in, he gets most of them killed to work out who the good ones are, who's really good at killing the enemy, and then they go on essentially commando missions that nobody else will do, like assassinating a rogue planetary governor on Armageddon. And all of this came from novels written by Gav Thorpe from about 2000, the year 2000, which is where these models date from. There's 5 books now in this range of novels, the latest one being in 2019. And they're very characterful, as you can see. Do any of them strike you as interesting?
I want to know Fingers' backstory. We got a guy down here. One of the last chances. He's called Fingers. He's got
Fingers.
He's got a Man from Del Monte hat and a las gun and a
he looks like he's
jacket.
fingering his own butthole.
He's the guy that looks up the bumholes. Fingers. I think Fingers stole something or couldn't stop stealing something like that. I remember the one I do remember is Brains. So there's a guy called Brains.
What was he good at, Matt?
Well, he was very intelligent, hence why he's called Brains.
He's got some glasses on as well.
Do you know why?
In the
Yeah.
90s.
Do you know why he joined the Penal Legion? He hacked the pay roster and got himself loads of money in his paycheck, and he got caught. So he isn't that clever. But
He's just a rogue accountant.
Yeah, but apparently that's called techno heresy. So he hacks computers, and that's called techno heresy, and he got done, and now he's in the last chances because he survived being in the Penal Legion, and I think he was one of the characters that goes to Armageddon and kills the leader.
The last chances, they've been redone recently, right? There's those.
No,
man. These are still the latest edition of these models.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've got to be honest with you. Some of the names are a little bit lacking. We've got the range out here in front of us, and we can see we've got Colonel Schaefer and all of that. Then there's Warrior Woman, Demolition Man, Rocket Girl. Don't forget her. Guess what she's got, guys? Write
Rocket
in down in the comment
Girl!
section.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Hero used to be an Imperial commander, and he, I think he shot a fellow. He refused. He refused to lead his men on a mission that was suicide, and therefore his commander said, "You're off, mate. You're going to the penal legion. You wouldn't follow out your orders." So he saved all his men's lives, only to end up in the penal legion. But the
only to end up in a squad with fingers, poking his own butthole. Gav
was Gav's inspiration for the original books was the Dirty Dozen and World War II books such as Legion of the Damned, which are about Soviet penal regiments in World War II. And Colonel Schaefer was based on Schwarzenegger in the film Predator, which is so that's the kind of character we're dealing with. And if you're listening, Gav, which I know you are.
Hi, I'm Gav Thorpe, and you're listening to the Large Blast podcast.
I had prepared one of my questions I prepared to ask you when we interviewed you. If you haven't listened to that episode, you need to go back and listen to it. There were two characters in one of your books which were clones of Lord Solar Macarius, who was the first subject of the Blast from the Past series. So he's the greatest human commander, and there was a secret Imperial project to clone heroes of the Imperium, essentially to recreate them. And there were 500 clones of Lord Solar Macarius. Only 2 survived, and they were in the Last Chances. And I always wondered why clones of the greatest human commander ever were frontline soldiers and not commanders.
Yeah, it seems like a waste.
Yeah.
What are you doing, Gav?
I genuinely don't know.
Can I also just quickly mention the fact that personality and character in Schaefer's Last Chances seems to be entirely connected to group identity? In that,
yes,
you know, I recognise that all of these people come from their own legion and therefore look slightly different. But we can't mention these without talking about either warrior woman who looks like some kind of female Braveheart, maybe Boudica. It's a ginger woman with her belly out in a tartan skirt. And then you've got Shiv, who is a Native American in full Native American dress with bandana
Demolition Man
and a knife, and then Demolition Man representing the Cossack dance.
Yeah.
Let's not forget Mortal Kombat was pretty big at this time, and this does look like a Mortal Kombat roster just lived out in model form. It's
certainly interesting. It's certainly something that you think, would Games Workshop ever dare to remake these models? I think they should, but I don't think we will ever see this.
You come in here into the year 40,000, you fuck my wife, and now you want to recast me with people from the year 40,000? That was my Al Pacino from Heat impression. If you didn't get that, that's on you. Because we're here on the Large Blast podcast to recast some films from the olden days with some people from the 40,000 days.
That's right. Damn straight. First up, the thing that kicked off this whole goddamn Cops episode, which I'm sure you're enjoying, is me watching Heat. So we're going to recast Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, and the setting. So those that if you haven't seen Heat, stop listening to this fucking podcast, get on Amazon Prime and watch it right now.
What are you doing exactly?
You're wasting your life.
No one that hasn't seen Heat is allowed to listen to this podcast. Shut it off right now.
All you need to know to enjoy this bit, however, is that you've got Al Pacino, cop. You've got De Niro, robber. 2 real mano a mano, tete-a-la-tete. Who do we cast? Who's the good guy? Who's the
disaster
bad guy?
zone?
I mean, we've got to think about this in the context of when Heat came out. Okay. This was 2 of the most gangster and policeman actors acting together.
Oh, man.
Maybe it's got to be one of them has to be Gilliman, right?
No,
Surely it's got to be
Cypher.
Cypher. No,
No,
Cypher's
Cypher's
too
too dark.
outsider.
I
No,
think
it's not too
Gilliman,
dark.
Gilliman,
Gilliman can't do
Outsider. It
this.
has-
He's too
this
light.
has to be.
He's too light. He can't
yeah,
do
yeah,
this.
you can't put
Oh,
Gilliman
but
in
this-
the Pacino role. He needs a bit of an edge. He needs a
But
bit of
what
an
I'm
edge.
saying is, this is Gilliman playing
Cortez.
Pacino, or is this Pacino playing Gilliman? Do you see what I mean?
We've got to step it up a gear. We've got to take
Nah.
whatever it is to the next level. You know, I can't imagine Gilliman walking in and being pissed that someone's fucking his wife. Like,
No,
he's-
he'll probably be. This is Codex compliant in the long term. The strategy will work.
Yeah.
No, he can't do it. No.
Gilliman comes in like, I am into cuckolding. I will go behind this painting with weird eyes. Do not worry about it for any reason.
All right, so Gilliman, yeah, is just in the corner being a lampshade. Who's got a bit of? Who's a good guy, but is going to meet up with the bad guy
Listen,
in a coffee
we've
shop
got
for a
to-
tense
this is-
chat?
Azrael.
This is the thing is we're not picking when we're casting this movie, we're not picking one person, we're picking two people, you know, because the thing that made this movie great was the rivalry between Pacino and De Niro. You know, they were both fucking mountains. This was like literally the cop, the bad guy, that in every film, you know, the good guy and the bad guy. So we're looking for the textbook Warhammer good guy, the textbook Warhammer bad guy when we're casting this, in my opinion anyway.
There's the Lord of Change and the Grey Knight, Captain Stern, I think he's called, that has a model.
That is really
I think
blowing
Never
it
heard
out
of them.
proportion.
Can't do
Yeah,
it. These are A-list Warhammer guys as well. If I ain't heard of them, I don't want to know.
I'm thinking,
Brother Captain
I'm
Stern.
thinking that De Niro's character in this very, very clever. They're both very clever in this, very tactical. And I'm thinking, if we go in Titans, we need Primarchs. And I'm thinking, good guy but a bit of edge. I'm thinking the Lion versus Perturabo. I'm thinking
we
top-level
can do
tactic, or
heresy. We can do the Horus heresy.
the true people that would still work today potentially. Dawn versus Perturabo. Is this it? Is this the breakdown between the two natural rivals?
But 40k Dawn Perturabo.
Yeah,
40K.
step it up to the max. We've got Demon
think that's-
Perturabo. We've got Dawn holding the line.
Yeah.
That's definitely, I'm feeling that. I think Dawn Perturabo,
Yeah, where would they be though? Because Dawn isn't back in the Imperium, so they could be in quite an interesting place.
LA, California,
Yeah.
baby,
They just
right?
say
That's
that.
The
where
planet
it
of
takes place.
California in the Eye of Terror.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're on the Kokomo or whatever it is, the planet we
Kokomo Leacham.
Well, we need
Kokomo
some
Leacham.
kind of blonde star to play the Val Kilmer role. Maybe we chuck in old Aquarius Fistula just to mix things up in the Val Kilmer role. All right, next film I've picked for you guys. It's not a classic cop film, but as with all of these, they're in the IMDb top 25 cop films, and this one is set in the future. It's Blade Runner. How would
Not
we
in our
redo
future.
Blade Runner? Yeah, in the past before 40k. How would we redo Blade Runner? We've
Well, I
got
think this-
Rutger Hauer, we've got Harrison Ford. They need casting.
Oh man, I mean the
well-
guy is like Belisarius Cool or some kind of tech guy, isn't he? Like, or what's the evil
He's not as
tech
clever as them though. He's more base. The guy.
guy? No, the sorry, I was talking about the guy that makes the replicants.
Okay.
The guy with square
I
glasses.
don't know if we need to
Is
cast
it
everybody in the
Mercer?
film.
No. He's in the
Skip that
background.
bit.
He's Belisarius Cool. He makes the replicants. It's not
I mean,
a replicant. It's a
I mean, this has
servitor.
got to be a Necromunda based
Yeah,
movie, right?
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
we're looking at
Necromunda
Necromunda
movie.
shit here. Like, I mean, it's tempting to say you want to get like an Inquisitor or somebody, you know, like.
What about someone
Eisenhorn.
more street, like
Eisenhorn.
Cal Jericho? Someone who's got a little bit more
Jericho,
street spots
exactly.
and the same
Like-
coat.
one of those kind of guys? But I feel like this is even more microcosm than that. I don't feel like Decker is even really a hero. You know, this is more like we're talking about the standard Arbites guy. This is there's nothing really that special about Decker. If you put him out on if you gave him some stats for 40k, it would be 0, 0, plus 0, minus 0 across the board. He's a neutral presence. He's water, you know. So I don't think
Water.
that
I wouldn't go as far as water, but I know what you're saying.
Well, do you see what? Like,
He's just a normal person. He's a strength 3, toughness 3.
I think in the eyes through the lens of 40k, if you look at Decker, there are a billion Deckers in 40k operating and doing the same thing in a way that is almost meaningless,
Yeah.
So I don't think that he even. What I'm saying is that he's not even at got stats level. He's just a person he's one of the guys in the background of one of the pictures. Man, I've just been slagging him off for this whole thing. But he's still a really cool character. He's still a really cool character, but I don't think that he could be like an Eisenhorn or even a Jericho or anything like that. I think that he might just be like a random ganger that's gone rogue or like set up a detective agency and then ended up involved in some kind of weird.
Yeah. There was that the new trailer for the Necromunda computer game where the guy had his Mastiff.
Yeah, cool. It's kind of like the hired gun guy.
Hired gun, yeah.
I know what
Mixed
you're saying.
Reviews,
though.
by the way.
Oh, really? Yeah, he's definitely in the line between just like a lead ganger and he's just like a rank and this is the Arbites episode. He's just a rank and file Arbites.
I wonder if this might just be a conspiracy theorist in the 40k universe. Do you know what I mean? So this guy might just have some random conspiracy theories. He's been online. He thinks like, oh shit, like aliens are taking over or whatever. It's like some guy that's randomly discovered a gene stealer cult and is trying to sell it to his buddies or whatever, and no one believes him. This is kind of the story of him, I think.
So maybe they're for the guy that creates the replicants, who is the master of this whole conspiracy. He's the real character.
Yeah,
maybe.
And he's a gene stealer Primarch.
I like the gene stealer.
Yeah, he's a gene stealer Primarch. Yeah.
What if
with his limo,
this...
and he's a billionaire, isn't he? He's mega rich.
He's a gene stealer guy. He just doesn't realize it yet.
So this is what I'm saying. We're not just recasting. We're changing this for the 40k universe.
We've made a 40k. It's a whole film line.
They're not replicants.
Script.
They are.
Yeah, they're gene stealers. Yeah.
Oh,
so he's a guy that no one's
my
taking
ZBrush
seriously.
skills and this fucking
and
brainstorm.
Can you remember his little
fucking make $1 million?
His mini little children's toys robots that run around.
Yeah, those are the little mini gene
stealer
stealer things with the
Yeah.
Okay. I like this. I'd like this a lot.
Trademark anyone out there.
We've got this. All right, so the next cop film from the top 25 cop films, we only need to cast one character, and this is Dirty Harry. Who plays the Clint Eastwood Dirty Harry? What are they after? What are they taking down? Who is our rough and tough guy?
Cool. So it's got to be someone who's forgetful. They can't remember how many bullets that they've shot. It's got to be someone with a big gun. And it's got to be someone cool and uncompromising.
So, I like Cypher. I like
Cypher?
this being replayed as Cypher hunting some of the Fallen.
Yeah. Okay.
If Cypher hunts the Fallen and isn't one of the Fallen
himself, can't remember how many swings I took with this sword before it breaks.
I can't remember.
Could be one, could be two.
I can't remember if I'm supposed to shoot you or not. I don't even know what side I'm on.
Yeah.
Oh, that was easy.
Sorted. Right, Cypher, done.
Okay, the next one, a little bit weird. Sure, it's FBI and not a standard cop, but we've got Jodie Foster in Silence of the Lambs. Fairly generic, fairly beige investigator, but then we've got two of the best villains of cinema. We've got Hopkins, a cannibal. We've got Levine, Buffalo Bill.
Is this the one with the cum
to pick from?
Yeah.
This is the cum scene.
I can smell your cunt.
I've forgotten. Oh, what a line.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I love this movie.
Oh, man. So we get to do Hopkins.
Well, we've got to do, I reckon we've got to do Foster, Hopkins and Levine.
I mean, he'd be a great actor in our
who would, like film. Hopkins, I'm saying Fabius Bile.
Oh,
no one's gonna do a better Hannibal
Hannibal
Lecter
Lecter.
than Fabius Bile, right? He's just the Fabius Bile of the 40k universe.
Yeah.
I think that's perfect.
He's
Because
wearing
also,
Yeah.
you've nailed. He's not just horrific, but he's really clever as well.
Yes.
Bile is really,
Yeah.
That's his
Yeah.
whole thing.
really clever.
Oh man.
He's
That's-
only in prison
yeah.
because he kind of wants to be.
Yeah. Whereas I think we've got to delve into the Dark Eldar to find the skinning joy of Buffalo Bill.
You say
Or
that,
I
but
thought about
was thinking-
Lucius.
I was thinking more like a flayed run, because
Oh.
like they're a bit more like, oh, I just want to wear the skin. Like they're fairly
Yeah.
skilled at taking the skin off,
Yeah.
but they're not that skilled at like looking like what they want the skin to represent.
I love that idea as well. It would be a really interesting story. It's two very polar opposites. You've got Fabius Bile intrigued and in prison trying to work out how the flayed ones are skinning people so well. That's his interest.
Yeah.
He's thinking, what's this alien that can just skin
exactly
people?
like Clarice is all like, how can a man skin someone so accurately? And he's like, oh, are you really, is it a man you're even looking for? And she's like, oh, I don't know, is it a man I'm looking for? And he's like, where was you on your grandfather's 64th birthday party or something like this?
Yeah.
Quid pro whoever we choose to play cop Foster Clarice.
I like this, and I'm thinking of a blonde, not necessarily female, very kind of straight down the line that could be the go-between here. I'm thinking that maybe the runner is Mephiston, and he's chilling out. No, not the place.
he wouldn't talk to Fabius Bile, would he?
He's just not going to part with him.
Deep down in his soul, Mephiston is darker than Buffalo Bill and Hannibal Lecter. Deep down, the dirty, horrible things that he's waded through, the things he's overcome. We're looking for someone that's kind of fresh-faced, pure of heart, straight out of the academy, Buster. I'm ready to get out there and do some good or whatever. So maybe this is just a Primus Marine, because they're new, right? They're new on the scene. They're like, oh, I've just been bored. What's going on here in the 40,000 universe? Oh man, I aged pretty quickly, learning what my job was going to be, right?
So what about that?
It's just like a fresh-faced duty.
Okay.
That battle sister that's got a model. She's like a character. I don't know anything about her. The character in that.
I think she's. I think the way Stoney wants to go, he wants to go completely new, like no experience. I see what you're saying. There.
I'm just saying someone that's
No. She's a cop. She's
hard and she's tough, but at the same time, she's good of heart, and she's like the whole point Hannibal Lecter likes her is because she believes in what she's talking about. She's she's the yin to his yang. That's why he likes her.
Maybe that bullshit Inquisitor that we don't like, the one that's bald, that has a little bit of Eldar tech.
Oh yeah.
The one that's
we don't know anything about
the one with the little dragon on her shoulder, whatever.
The Xeno lady. Yeah.
What about the cop is Belisarius cool? What if Belisarius cool is the opposite to Hopkins Fabius Bile? He's inquisitive. He just kind of wants to know and get to the truth of things. He's not he does have his own agenda, but in terms of Silence of the Lambs, if we cast him in the Clarice Foster role where he's just out of out of school or
you're
whatever.
Thinking maybe kind of take the Clarice out and put in the Ed Norton from Red Dragon, a bit more of a kind of.
Exactly. I'm thinking he's a bit more Red Dragon-y. He doesn't suffer the bullshit, but he's still there to hear it,
Yeah, and he's also going to be interested in the tech. He's secretly deep down, he's like, I want to know how to skin people.
Yeah.
I want to know that. I want to get that. Amazing. We got cool, we got Bile, we've got random flayed one. Perfection.
Get down Abner on this phone and seal it up, boys, because that's another trademark for the Large Blast podcast.
Dan!
All right, next one. Absolute classic. Best Christmas film there is out there. How are we going to do Die Hard in the 41st millennium?
Well, we've already, Willis is already in our Horus Heresy film, but now we've got to work the other way, haven't we? I can't remember who he plays.
We've got a Gruber and we've got a Willis.
So that's Alan Rickman as Hans Gruber. and Willis as the cop guy from Die Hard.
John McClane. John fucking McClane.
From Die Hard.
I think we need to keep this. I think we need to try and keep this low level. We don't want to go. The whole thing about
Agreed.
Die Hard is that it's all in one building. We don't need to go stratospheric. We don't need Primarchs. We need men.
Eisenhorn.
Again, no.
That's
This
still
is
too
this
far.
is an underdog story. So whoever we've got playing Gruber has to be fair, like has to be a level above whoever we've got playing McClane, in my opinion. So like, even though they're kind of evenly matched, you know, in the battle arena, in terms of this, like, you know, Hans Gruber comes into this with a team of men. He's outmatched, you know, and Bruce Willis comes in. Everything's against him. He fucking gets the job done, you know, and he fucks up his feet many times. So if there's anyone out there that's got tiny, if there's a model out there with small feet, gets fucked up a lot, and also manages to save the day, then that's the guy.
Really likes to curl their toes on carpet. Is that in the law anywhere? Maybe this is a job for Inspector Sherlock Clouseau. Seems like the kind of guy that might enjoy getting off a plane and curling his toes into some fresh carpet.
They underestimated him for years.
They did.
They said you can't go into battle with that yin yang vest on, Inquisitor Clouseau, and he was like, "I can do it." Yeah, I think maybe Clouseau is the chosen.
It's got to be there. I think.
Yeah.
Although Gruber is important, he's and brilliantly played, and I love Rickman in this film. He is a generic accented bad guy. Could it just be Gruber's woken up after a few too many white Russians at the bottom of the hotel and a chaos cult has taken over? Just a generic chaos cult leader. Does he need to be someone big, or are we undersell him?
Hear me out on this one, boys. I think maybe if we're going to go underdog versus big army, Gruber versus Willis in this scenario, and I think maybe we should go Commissar Yorick versus Gazgal Fraker.
Okay.
Rickman,
Rickman
is Gazgal Fraker. He comes in, he tries to take the tower. Yorick comes in, ends up taking his fucking arm. You know what I'm saying? You know, some of this.
Yeah. You can see it now. You can see the fall off the top of the building. He's
on the top of the Hive City,
holding him, but then just cuts his arm as Gazgal falls.
Yeah. He cuts his own arm. Yeah, brilliant.
Fantastic.
Okay. Done it again. Trademark.
Last one then, boys. It's a classic. We can't do cop movies without a little bit of humour. It's Lethal Weapon. We got two cops that we think would be enjoyable to watch team up.
Okay.
Glover, Gibson.
They hate each other at first. Chalk and cheese. They come together. So, you know, one of them is a day away from retirement. One of them is crazy and eats onions raw. How are we going to get this done? You know, a lot of saxophone as well. Who are the most saxophone-based unlikely duo in 40K?
Bjorn.
I was just thinking.
Bjorn the Fell-Handed.
Gibson.
Okay, one day away from retirement. Okay,
but that's the other way. Because I'm thinking the Mel Gibson character is a space wolf. He's more rough around the edges, and then you got the smooth Danny Glover. So maybe a younger space wolf. Maybe
what's the leader called? What's the
Ragnar Blackmane.
Ragnar Blackmane, yeah.
And he's got a mullet as well, kind of. So you know, we've got Ragnar Blackmane.
Yeah.
Okay, so then who do we? You know, the space wolves don't get on with all the goodies. Well, we haven't got.
I think we.
There's loads of people that don't get on with the space wolves within the good guys that we could cast in.
Okay, sorry. I thought you were saying we should have Ragnar and Bjorn.
No, Ragnar instead of Bjorn.
So who've we cast? Have we cast Mel? Or have we cast Dan?
Yeah.
Okay, we've cast Mel. All right.
Someone
there's Ragnar.
Someone that's really gonna hate working with a space wolf at first, but could learn to love it.
What about Danny Glover? Is old One Eye. He's been injured. They're chalk and cheese. They're not exactly working. They can't work together. But old One Eye, he's had so many battles. He's already had one of his eyes torn out. He's ready to go. The High Fleet is like, come on, one more battle, old One Eye.
As funny as I think that could be for
No.
physical humour, I don't think you're going to get the banter with old One Eye that we need to make
Old
this
One
film
Eye's
work.
picked up English of his time spent.
What about someone really straight-laced like...
Or like
Gilliman, but he's
Calgar.
he
Like
can't be
Calgar?
Gilliman. Yeah,
a
Calgar's a
Tower
good one.
Ethereal or
Calgar's.
something.
Or
How is theory?
Tower
I feel like
Ethereal.
literally,
That'd be amazing.
if we're having, if one of them's these guys they're so far apart. They're supposed to be so far apart in terms of their personalities when you first meet
Creed,
them, and
the
then they come
Imperial
together.
Commander.
So I feel like if one of them's an Imperial guy, the other one's going to be like Chaos or a Xenos. Or
I am
something
all
like
for
Wait,
an
what's
Ethereal.
the... No.
Or an Eldar.
An Eldar. What's the Eldar guy? The main guy from Elsewhere.
Eldrad. Yeah, he's really
Eldrad
old and ready
Elsewhere.
for retirement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I can see that. Ragnar having to like bite his tongue all the time that he's got to work with a Xenos that he absolutely hates.
They get in his car and he tries to put on some Eldar music. He's like, "Stop touching my radio!"
Eldar hymns.
Yeah.
I can imagine all Eldrad like just wraith boning a saxophone into just magicking a saxophone out of
That's
some
where
wraith
the
bone.
sax comes in, and that's what makes Lethal Weapon Lethal Weapon is the sax.
We've only bloody done it, guys.
We've
improved some of the best films ever made.
Hit for hit. Listen, I know Games Workshop, I know your last animation was bollocks, but if you want to hit us up, if you need some big ideas, guys, we're here for you.
Rolling in my 6-4.
Welcome back, everybody, to this part of the show, Random Topic Generator, where Welshie rolls the patented company dice. Welshie, do you have the company dice?
Of course I do. It's a 6.
Can you roll the company dice?
I've already rolled it, mate. It's a 6.
Oh.
It's a 6.
Oh, cool.
You can command a chaos god for the day. Think Genie in the Bottle. Think Aladdin. Which one would you pick and why? Let's narrow it down to you get 3 wishes. We don't need to go into the wishes, but the kind of theme. Which chaos god and why? Fucking Slaanesh. I'm going Slaanesh. I'm going to call Slaanesh. I'm going to have myself a big old masquerade ball. I'm going to get all the earthly delights that I could possibly want. I'm going to have a great time. I'm going to ask Slaanesh, I'm going to say, right, Slaanesh, I want the best goddamn wine. I want the best demonettes you've got. I don't want any of those spiky tongues, though. You can keep them for yourself. And then I want a ride on the platform with old fat boy from Age of Sigmar. And I want to eat grapes. That's my day.
Well, in similar vein, I'm going to get on Corn and I'm going to be like, yeah, I'm starting a blood bank. I'm collecting all the blood and I'm selling it to the hospitals, getting a bunch of money from selling blood. Corn comes in, it's be like, oh, I want to give blood. Chop your head off, get the blood. Back in the van, get buckets of blood. Oh, I've come here to donate 1 pint of blood. No, you haven't. You've come here to donate 14 pints of blood at the Corn Blood Bank. Boom, we're making dollar on dollar on dollar. All these other blood banks making like what? However much it costs for like 1 pint of blood out of one cunt. Nah, mate, we're taking all the blood, every last bot, and your skull as well, and selling it to weirdos on the internet. Boom.
Well, my wish has always been to have Bernard's watch, and the person I think that would give me that is Zinch. So I'm going to go with Zinch.
I love the idea you're calling him forth and you're not asking him to do anything. You're saying, can you give me Bernard's watch? You can control all the time, but you just want Bernard's
time.
Watch.
Yeah.
Tinch was a secondary character in Bernard Watch's lore. So
yeah, this is where 40k collides with children's TV.
You could ask for that coin as well. What was that coin with the like?
Yeah, I thought
the
Queen's
coin.
nose.
Queen's
Yeah,
nose.
the Queen's nose. Yeah.
exactly.
You're
Yeah,
going
that
with
was actually
Zinch.
Nurgle. It's like, oh, you rub his nose, it makes you stink or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
So you're going to command the best
I'm going to
psychers
command
in the
Zinch
galaxy
to
to fulfill your
Yeah.
childhood television dreams.
Yeah.
Another question unresolved in the random topic generator. Welcome back, everybody, to this, the last part of the show, the Lords of Law, where I pit Matt and Welshie against each other in a quiz to find out once and for all who is the Lord of Law. So we're going to harken back to I think this was the second episode we ever did, where my drunk girlfriend tried to describe Warhammer models for Matt and Welshie, and they had to try to decipher who or what they were talking about. Was that right? Do you guys remember that?
I do remember fondly.
Okay. Well, this time I've gone 420 episode. My girlfriend is high as fuck and she's trying to describe models to you, Matt and Welshie. So could you decide what model she is trying to describe here?
Oh, it's a sea of green with pointy stick held in the hand on the left, and on the right it's cascading down into broccoli type structures that are very dark green in the florets, and it looks a bit like a web, and then at the top it looks like wings with big pointy bit at the top and like a half moon on each side of the head.
So what do you think that description was?
The
A man with broccoli arms.
the elder god, the oh fuck, what's it? The Yarid.
The sort of guy that looks a bit
The
like
guy that's
it's
the
got
guy
all
that's
the
floating around in a
weird
circle
card
of
sort of
hurricane.
energy floating around him in a kind of a curly
Yeah.
Q.
yeah.
Okay, that's Matt's guess. What about you, Welshie? What did you think about that?
Sea of green and broccoli arms, and then potentially half moons on some wings, perhaps. Although I feel like she would have mentioned wings, but I'm going to go Mortarion anyway. I think Mortarion.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, it was the new Dragon Catan model, the new Necron.
yes,
Yeah.
sea of green, yeah.
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 So, unfortunately, no one got a point on that one. But can you decipher what my stoned wife is trying to describe in this next part of the show?
He's a chunky fucker, right? He's got chunky arms and a big gun in one hand. He's got a chunky gun as well. And he's got a big long sword on the other side that has like electric blue at the hilt side. And he's got a skull in the middle of his chest and blonde hair. He's got wings on his arm, and his dress, it's like he's wearing a dress, like an Elizabethan lady's dress, with a big black swooping bit at the front with gold pattern on the edge.
Okay, so who do you think that was describing?
Who's going first?
I've got no idea.
Mephiston.
Mephiston from Matt. What about you, Welsh? What do you think?
You went with Mephiston after blonde hair, which is what I thought, but he doesn't have a really big gun.
He has
guess if
a
you're not
big
used to
plasma gun, and he has a
40K,
sword, and he has an
look-
Elizabethan
It all
dress,
looks big guns. They do
wings.
look
I think
Elizabethan.
big black cape. That's what
That's
I
how
thought.
it's-
I thought of various other things, but I'm going to go with Mephiston.
I just don't think the big guns really throw me off. Oh, I really don't. I'm going to go with the lion. He's got a
The
big gun
lion.
and a big sword.
Okay, well, Matt, you are the winner. You get a point for that. It was Mephiston,
Yeah.
sexy Mephiston. Okay, great. Next one. Can you decide what my stoned wife was trying to describe in this section?
I'm seeing lots of blue. There's a guy at the back, and he's got a big gun thing, but the whole thing's like on a go-kart. It looks like there's two, like there's one, like a double-decker bus of people driving the go-kart, and there's a gun right over his head. That must be annoying. And big chunky black wheels, and there's like a symbol on the front that is like sort of double pair of wings, and little pointy bits at the top, like a heart almost. Not got much to say about this one.
So what do you guys think?
Oh, let's do it together, Matt.
David?
3,
No,
2,
no.
1. Invader ATV.
Point for both of you. It was the Invader ATV, the go-kart with the annoying gun on the top.
What was the wings she was talking about?
Yeah,
She was talking about the Aquila. The Aquila.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay.
That's not
So
wings, that's the sign of the Holy Immortal Emperor.
Well, let's find out what she was describing in this next one.
It's lovely. There's like loads of cherubic figures flying around the top, and they've got wings, and down on the bottom there's a bunch of guys like a bit scary wearing black, like looking like there's loads of chains everywhere.
I think we both got this, Matt. We'll do it together again.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Triumph of St.
Triumph
Catherine.
of St. Catherine.
Give them both a point. I will do now.
This guy's like got a really wide open, screamy face, and he looks like a tin soldier. He's got black trousers, like quite wide, maybe it's a kilt, and like a skull on his chest, with feathers around it. He's got a really massive gun. Oh, it's his arm. And his arm is, or maybe it's not a gun, but it's massive and red. And it's got tubes attaching to his waist. And then he has got a hand on the other side with another massive gun, but less massive. And it's got kind of plants growing around the end of it.
What do you think?
Plants going around the end of it.
So he's got
Holy
one massive
shit.
gun. He's got one massive gun arm that might not be a massive gun arm. He looks like a tin soldier and a big gun with plants around the end of it in the other hand.
Red. Something was red.
A big red gun
I've got
arm.
an idea. I'll go first.
Okay.
No, wait. Give me a sec. Don't. Because I'm wondering whether it's something to do with the Death Guard. Shouting.
Come on.
Kilt.
Welshie, let's hear. Welshie, you've got an answer. Let's hear it.
I'm going to
We've got
go
no time.
Illumina Zeraz.
Illumina Zeraz from Welshie. Okay, Matt, what do you think we're going on here? We've got one big
what is
red
that?
arm.
The guy pulling the red stuff out of the dead dude on the floor. The Necron guy.
yeah,
It looks
that's
like
a
he's
good
got a
guess.
big mouth,
Yeah.
and he's got a big chin.
Hmm.
So
it looks like a tin soldier. He's got a big red arm. He's trying, he's got like a gun in his other arm. Who do you think?
Yeah,
it
I
is?
think that's a good guess. It's Death Guard.
All of Death Guard.
Minus
He's
one
the guy
point
that's
for
got
Matt,
that massive
which
eyes.
means that everybody today it's a draw with a point apiece because that was Commissar Yarrick trying to be described in that description there.
Oh, damn it!
What was
So
the
minus
tree?
your 1 point, Matt takes this day's competition up to a draw. So nobody wins, everybody loses. But that's the Large Blast podcast for you. I've been your host, Stoney. Say goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.